The best real estate investors aren't just buying properties, they're buying properties in the right markets. In 2025, certain states, certain regions, and certain cities have seen an absolute boom in population and have a high demand for more rental properties. If you invest in the right places and get a little bit ahead of the curve, you can be buying at a discount, like buying a stock at its IPO that's only going to go up. So in this video, I'm going to go over the top 5 markets that I see as buying early and getting in early as a good rental market for the foreseeable future. You can be a really, really good real estate investor and do everything the right way, but not cash flow if you choose the wrong market. Now, don't get me wrong, you can invest in real estate in any market, no matter what your strategy. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's a surprise that California is not the best market to own rental properties, yet about half the people that live in California are renters. So obviously, there is a demand and obviously people are profiting from owning rental properties in California, but it's not the best place to start and you have to have a pretty big piggy bank to get into that market. So what makes up a good market? High job growth is a great indicator. If there is more people with money to spend on housing because there is job growth and you have the houses, that's a win-win for you. Number 2, general population growth. If people are moving somewhere, they need somewhere to live. That gives you more renters and that gives you the ability to sift through several applications and pick the very best one for you and for them. Number 3, affordable property prices. Now, I know everybody thinks that real estate's overpriced, but it's not going down drastically anytime soon. And in fact, the trend line is always up if you look out long enough when you're looking at real estate. But there are markets that are more affordable than other markets as far as the cost to purchase and own and the cost to live. So if you're able to buy something that doesn't cost you as much money and people are able to live there and it's affordable for them to live, they could potentially afford more rent and you can charge more or at least always have it occupied. I'm all about tenants having rights and being respected and being treated fairly. However, there are markets like California, for example, which I don't think I'm giving away too much saying California is not going to be one of my markets I'm going to tell you about. But there are situations in states like California where tenants have too many rights. They can stay longer, they can squat, you can't do anything about them, and you end up going into bankruptcy or losing your ass on a deal because of tenants that aren't paying and aren't following the lease. If tenants do everything right, they should be able to stay. But if they don't do everything right and they're not treating the property or the lease or you or paying you fairly, they need to be able to reasonably and fairly be evicted. And lastly, costs of owning rental properties. Certain areas have much higher property taxes and business taxes than other areas. We want to focus on areas that don't have much cost in owning a business or owning properties and paying property tax. All right, let's get into the markets. These aren't necessarily in any particular order. These are just 5 markets that through my research, through some ChatGPT research, and then talking with other investors, I think are great places to be. Some of them might surprise you, some of them may not. Number 1, and again, not necessarily in this order, is Tampa, Florida. Why Tampa? Tampa has had a 20% increase in population growth over the past decade. That is an insane amount of people moving to Tampa. And rents have steadily increased year over year by 8% a year. So I know it may cost a little bit more than you want to buy a property in Tampa, but there are areas and neighborhoods that are absolutely affordable and rent is sky high, which will make up for any extra cost, plus more positive cash. It also has no state income tax, which is a huge draw for people moving there and potential renters moving there. So we're going to give this 4 stars for cash flow and 5 stars for appreciation. Number 2, and maybe my favorite, is Indianapolis, Indiana. It is one of the most affordable metro areas in the US. It seems to have pretty consistent job growth, especially in healthcare and logistics. It has pretty low property taxes and very friendly landlord and tenant laws. It's fair. I'm going to give this 5 stars for cash flow and 3 stars for appreciation. Number 3 is Huntsville, Alabama. Why Huntsville? It is the number 1 fastest growing city in all of Alabama. It's getting high-tech jobs and military contracts, like the defense industry and NASA. And rents have jumped over 15% in the past 3 years. Cash flow rating is going to be a 5, and property appreciation is going to be at 2.5. Number 4 is going to surprise you. It is getting a huge migration from people on the West Coast wanting a little bit more affordable of a city. Idaho's a beautiful place. Boise's a beautiful place. And yes, maybe it's more expensive to live there than Indianapolis, but it is much more affordable than the markets where people are moving to there from, like San Francisco, like Seattle, like LA. It has an extremely high demand for rentals because of this, and it is not built out for rental properties, meaning there's a very low supply. So if you have a rental property there, you you're going to have a huge demand of tenants and you're going to get a lot of applications for every rental property you have. It has a very large growing tech-savvy population that's young moving there. I'm going to give the cash flow rating a 2.5, but appreciation rating a 4.5. Number 5, and I've been on this state and this city for a while, Charlotte, North Carolina. It has massive job growth in the banking, tech, and healthcare industries, and rents this year are up 9% year over year and growing. And it is one of the most affordable cities on the East Coast. I'm going to give this 4 for cash flow and 4 for appreciation. So when you're looking at buying rental properties, there are a lot of things to look at, but the 2 biggest factors, if you weren't catching on earlier, is going to be cash flow and appreciation. Jobs can move in and out, populations can move in and out. There's always a need for shelter, but if you focus on cash flow and appreciation and own them long-term enough, you will create wealth through owning rental properties. Doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen over enough nights. Let me know which cities you think are great for owning rental properties, because there are hundreds and hundreds of them, especially in the Midwest and the Southeast, in the comment section. If you appreciate this video, give it a like, hit the subscribe button, share it with a friend. See you on the next one.